What's up, Wizards? It's a big day right now because we just got all of the starter kit collection content spoiled for MTG Foundations. Doesn't sound like that big of a deal, does it? Well, all of the cards in the starter kit are going to be standard legal. Not all of them are from the main set. And there's like 387 cards in the starter kit. So that's like a whole other set of cards that are standard legal for 5 years. And yes, this is confirmed. I've watched the preview stream with Blake Rasmussen and Carmen Klomperens, who was the one who basically designed this entire starter kit collection like a cube. And it is very exciting. Some of the contents of this thing that we're going to have available in standard. So let's take a look through this. It feels daunting. It feels like one of those speed runs where I rate every single card in a set or whatever. Like it's going to be a lot of information, but it's going to be very important information to cover if you want to know all the cards you have access to in standard to brew with, because there's a lot of ridiculous nonsense in this product. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what's going on here. 387 Magic the Gathering cards in the starter collection kit. It includes 26 traditional foil cards. You also get 3 play boosters from Foundations, 90 basic lands, 10 of them being full art basic lands. And you get 14 tokens, 2 reference cards, 1 How to Build Your Deck booklet, and a click wheel. All of this, they say, they're bringing back MSRP. All of this is going to be available for, I think it's $59.99. So $60 for a little under 400 Magic cards. And and 3 boosters for what that's worth, and it's worth about 12 to 15 bucks. So that's not bad. I actually, just off the rip here, looking at some of the contents of this kit, think that is an incredible value. $60 for this is unbelievable. Like, this might be the first, paper Magic product that I buy in a while. I bought a few packs of Bloomborough, but I haven't bought like a sealed product in a good bit, like a box or something like that. And I think I might buy this based on the contents. But what are those contents? The starter collection contains over 350 cards from Foundations for you to play with. Those cards will be legal in standard until at least 2029. Every card in this box. Save for 3. We'll get to that in a second. So you'll be able to hone your skills and strategy for many years to come. Additionally, there are 3 cards not from Foundations that will help you build a commander deck. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and Commander Tower. These cards have the FTC set code and set symbol. So they will have the Foundations Commander set symbol. So they're not legal in standard. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and Command Tower. Not legal in standard, but everything else in this box is. And I think we should go ahead and get to it because there's an awful lot. There really are. I want to cover this in a timely manner, and it's going to be very difficult. So 3 minutes into the video, let's start looking at cards here. Let me F11. Well, actually, first, let me do a little bit of zooming here. I think that's the proper thing to do. And then we will F11 our browser, and hopefully that is, yeah, it's large enough. Lyra Dawnbringer's in the main set. We knew about that. Angel of Vitality here. If you gain life, gain that much life +1 instead. That's not terrible. Johnny's Pridemate's in the main set. Charming Prince is here, meaning that you can play Charming Prince in standard again. And it is very, very good. A 2-mana 2/2 when he enters, either scry 2 or gain 3 or blink a guy. Just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy that we have this back in standard. There's also Linden, Steadfast Queen. This is a 3-mana 3/3, all white pips. It's a legendary, and it has vigilance. Whenever a white creature you control attacks, gain a life. This was really fun last time it was in standard. I imagine it still will be, just a really cool card Linden is. Having access to that in standard would be nice. But over here on the right, there's also Make a Stand. All your guys gain indestructible till end of turn for 3 mana at instant speed. There's Stroke of Midnight. This is in the main set. Disenchant's in the main set. Valorous Stance is back in standard for 5 years. Always a good thing to have access to. As I move over here, I'm doing this for a reason. It's because of scrolling etiquette. There's also Mentor of the Meek. Baby, this is the 3-mana 2/2 human soldier. Whenever another creature you control power 2 or less enters, pay 1 if you do draw a card. Dude is pretty solid, man. We saw a lot of very solid cards in the starter kit, and this is just the beginning, man. This is only the beginning. You'll see cards that you get excited about as we go on, like Regal Caracal over here, dude. Like 5-mana 3/3. Other cats you control have +1/+1 in lifelink, and when this guy enters, you get 2 1/1 creature tokens with lifelink. Regal Caracal, it's hard to say, is a pioneer playable card. This is one of my favorite cats of all time, and we're going to have it in standard for the cats decks. It'll be support for the cat decks, and that's actually great that we get to play this again. I've probably got a few copies left over on Arena from from the last time it was in standard, like Almond Ket or something. So that's going to be fun. But there's also, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything up top. There's also Zatalpa Primal Dawn, which has been reprinted in a million Commander products, but not in the standard for a while here. An 8 mana 4/8 legendary dinosaur, flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, indestructible. It's not a chroma, but it's the next best thing to a chroma, you know, and just really, really sweet card to have in standard. It's a little bit Timmy-ish, and it's not super playable most of the time, but it's a fun reanimation target occasionally. There's also Cat Collector from the main set, Angel of Finality from the main set, Savannah Lions from the main set. Inspiring Overseer is here. You see the Jumpstart version here, but they said that they basically included the newest version of every card. That's a little footnote in this article. So this is in Foundations. It's in the starter kit. You can play it in standard. And I kind of missed this while it was in its brief absence. It's a nice little creature for Angels decks and life gain decks. Archway Angel is in here. Comes into play. You gain 2 life for each gate you control. Yes, there are gates. There are gates. We'll talk about it. There's even a good gate card. Bally Rush Banneret. 2 mana for a 2/1 Kitkin Soldier. Kitkin and Soldier spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. There's a Soldier deck in standard right now. This might like greatly aid, right? So cool to have this in standard. Crusader of Odric just has PT equal to the number of creatures you control. So, you know, Beauregard Mentor or whatever is just better than this. It costs less mana. It has trample, but still another version of this effect in standard. Dawning Marshal. Let me make sure. Yeah, Dawnwing Marshal is 2 mana for a 2/2 Flying Cat Soldier. Pump 5 mana into it and it anthems your entire team, but a 2/2 Flying Cat for 2 mana is actually not a bad rate in and of itself, right? Felidar Cub is here. The 2 mana 2/2 Cat Beast. Sack the creature. Destroy target enchantment. Always solid. You know, again, a lot of these are just solid Magic cards that have seen some play, you know, even in competitive environments over their, you know, tenure in Magic history. And Felidar Cub has seen some sideboard play before, and I imagine it still will. Knight of Grace is here, so we don't get the old school, like, white and black knights, but we get these guys, and I'm happy about that. 2 mana for a 2/2 First Strike Human Knight with Hexproof from black, and he gets +1/+0 for any player, or as long as any player controls a black permanent, yourself included. So this guy's always been cool. Doesn't see all the play in the world, neither does the black version of it, but it's still neat. It's still cool to have these guys available in standard. Sir Aelin, the Lion's Claw, is back. The 5 mana 4/4 First Strike. Whenever he attacks, you anthem your team. Hinterland Sanctifier officially in standard, right? When it was just in the Jumpstart product, which again, you see the Jumpstart version here, but this will be legal in standard, considering it is in the, you know, Magic Starter Collection, the Foundation Starter Collection product. So that means that along with Case of the Uneaten Feast, we now have, you know, up to 8 in the same deck, you know, 1 mana this effect cards. And that is huge for the life gain decks. We basically have our Lunarch Veteran effect back. It missed it horribly. It basically doesn't exist right now because Lunarch Veteran rotated. So we have this effect now. We can play life gain. I'm really happy about that. It makes a huge difference. Angelic Destiny is here. 4 mana for an R that enchants a creature. The creature gets +4/+4 and has flying, and First Strike becomes an angel. And whenever the enchanted creature dies, you return Destiny to its owner's hand. Rasmussen said during the stream that he's lost to this card. So have I. I have lost this card at an F&M. It's actually really, really decent if you can stick it to a creature. It's not bad. Felidar Retreat is up next. This is a landfall thing. 4 mana for an enchantment with landfall. Whenever you landfall, you either get a 2/2 Cat Beast, or you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and they gain vigilance till end of turn. I had a lot of fun with this card last time it was in standard. Can't wait to mess around with it again, dude. Landfall is looking actually very, very cool, especially with Lumra, Aftermath Analyst, right? Like, especially if you have a way to give them all haste, but even if you don't, you know, you just fill the table with 2/2s when you Lumra, and that seems fun. Stasis Snare is in here, a sort of Oblivion Ring effect with Flash, which is good. Stasis Snare tends to see play. The last time it was in standard, it saw some play, but there's also Fumigate. Note that the main set does have Day of Judgment, but we still get basically 2, you know, white sweepers in this set with Fumigate now. Destroy all creatures, gain a life for each creature destroyed this way. It's 5 mana, so could be decent in certain life gain builds, right? Could be, but apart from that, just a solid sweep. Devout Decree, this is in the main set. Release the Dogs, the 4 mana, 3 and a white for a sorcery that makes 4 1/1s. Just, you know, depending on what your deck is trying to do, this might be too slow, but I still like the idea of like hop to it on turn 3, release the Dogs on turn 4. You know, you've got with 7 guys on the table, you know, so could be all right depending on how explosive you're trying to be. And it's especially good alongside a red card that we'll see a little bit later on. And we'll all be very excited about. Apart from that, we also got some other cards. I don't know what these do. There's Resolute Reinforcements, but I've seen all of these before. That's so weird. This is the official Magic the Gathering website. So I guess I have to do this for them. Okay, so Joust Through. What's that? Oh, maybe these are cards we haven't seen yet, but I feel like these are recognizable names for Magic cards. But maybe that's what's happening here. Yeah, Scryfall can't find it, so maybe that's what's happening. Although, like, Resolute Reinforcements is a thing. Oh, yeah, Divine Resilience we actually covered in the spoiler video for the main set from today. Yeah, this is a 1 white mana thing. Target creature you control gains indestructible. If you kick it, it costs a total of 4 mana. I think that in the video I say it costs 3 mana if you kick it. But yeah, if you kick it, it costs a total of 4. And then all your guys get indestructible. So it's kind of like another make a stand effect, you know, in this set. But that's kind of neat. And then Twin Blade Blessing. Do we know what that is yet? I don't think so. Twin Blade Blessing is not an extant Magic card yet. So, okay, that's what's going on there. But yeah, just in white. It's already taken us 7 or 8 minutes to do one color. So you see the undertaking this is going to be. Strap in. Let's look at blue, guys. And keep remembering all these cards are playable in standard, son. So let's F11 our browser again, look at Rite of Replication. 4 mana, 2 and 2 blue for a sorcery with kicker 5. Create a token that's a copy of a creature. If the spell was kicked, create 5 of them tokens instead. So that's good. Maybe instead of Doppelgang in like the Teamer decks, you'll play this and then copy your Overlord of the Hauntwoods or your Overlord of the Boiler Bilges like 5 times. It could be, but I think the Doppelgang really wants to be able to, this only hits creatures. I'm getting in the weeds here, and I shouldn't. This should be much more expedient. But yeah, you want to be able to hit enchantments because Overlord of the Boiler Bilges won't always be an enchantment or won't always be a creature. God, Dev. So Doppelgang is probably better, but still, you get what I'm trying to say here. If you can make the mana, you can do nasty stuff with the card. Finale of Revelation is in blue. This is 2 blue and X for a sorcery. Draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead shuffle your yard into your library. Draw X cards. Untap 5 lands. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile Finale of Revelation. This saw like sparing play in standard last time it was in because like draw X cards is just kind of a good baseline in general. Sometimes you just draw 4 or 5 cards, but if you actually do have the mana to like make X 10 or more, then you can probably win, you know. And again, especially in these Teamer like Doppelgang decks, this looks pretty okay. But River's Rebuke is reprinted. This is just return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hand for 6 mana. Pretty sick in terms of just a one-sided blue sweeper. It's not that bad. Chart of Course, we knew that was going to be in standard. Confiscate is here, 6 mana for you control enchanted permanent. Cool. Good. I like control magic effects, and controlling enchanted permanent is actually way better than you think even at 6 mana. Even at 6 mana, this is like borderline playable in sideboards and stuff. Dictative Crufix is here, 3 mana for an enchantment with flash. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card, so you flash it in during your opponent's end step, draw your additional card first. Pretty cool. Witness Protection's here too, though, the legitimate business person card. Now we have this and Unable to Scream, 2 different Swords to Plowshare but blue cards. That's kind of neat. Apart from that, Arcanus the Omnipotent is just in standard for 5 years. 6 mana for a 3/4 legendary wizard. Tap to draw 3. And you can pay 4 mana to return Arcanus to its owner's hand. Fun Magic card. Not sure how standard playable it is, but tapping to draw 3 is pretty cool. Harbinger of Tides. Harbinger of the Tides, guys. This is a good pickup for blue tempo decks. 2 blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. You may cast this card as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it. When this creature enters, you may return target tapped creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You do that when they swing in. You just pay the 4 mana, do it when they swing in. You got a 2/2. Just a good card for tempo decks. Sphinx of the Final Word, 7 mana, 5 and 2 blue for a 5/5 Sphinx that can't be countered, has flying and hexproof, and instant and sorcery spells you control can't be countered. You want to break a control mirror? Try Sphinx of the Final Word. This actually saw some play when it was in standard for that explicit purpose. But Tempest Gen is also in here. As they pointed out during the stream, it did in fact win a Pro Tour. You know, so cool. It was a decent tempo card back in the day, but I think Haughty Djinn is probably better. This is 3 blue mana for a 0/4 Djinn with flying that gets +1/+0 for each island, basic island specifically, that you control. that means it gets pretty big. Voracious Great Shark is here too. It didn't see a lot of play last time I was in Standard, but I think it's still a good Magic card, man. 5 mana for a 5/4 flash shark. When it enters, counter an artifact or creature spell. There's just ways you blow them out, dude. They go to resolve their Aquazots. No, you can't have your Aquazots. As a matter of fact, you don't get a guy. I get a 5/4. I still think this is good. I really do, to this day. Click on Sky Mage we covered in the preview video today. 4 mana, 1/1 flyer. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Seems fun. Doesn't seem great, but seems fun, right? But there's also Brineborn Cutthroat over here. 2 mana for a 2/1 flash Merfolk Pirate. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Brineborn Cutthroat. I always liked this last time it was in Standard, and also saw a little bit of play. Cool in Merfolk decks. Actually halfway decent for Pirate decks too, which they're kind of extant in Standard at the moment. But, just a 2 mana, 2-power flash that, allows you to get a little extra value as the game goes on is pretty good for a lot of these, again, tempo decks right now. Micromancer's in here. We covered this for the preview video today as well. Just a little guy that kind of expensive, but goes and fetches baby spells for you, and that might be good. Mocking Sprite, 3 mana, 2/1 fairy rogue with flying. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. We've seen that card in Standard. Like recently, we've seen effects like it in Standard. Apart from that, Spectral Sailor, a single blue mana for a 1/1 flash flying, pay 4 mana, draw a card. Love to have this guy back. I am so happy that this guy is back. This is one of my favorite blue 1-drops of all time, and now he's going to be in Standard for 5 years. Holy crap. I'm super, super stoked about that. Just a 1 mana, 1/1 flash flying is kind of good. It's kind of low-key. It's kind of good by itself. But the draw a card mode is the good mode on this. I know it says 4 mana, but I have you and me and everyone else that has played this card. If you were here last time it was in Standard, everyone who's played it has activated it like 10 times or more. It's amazing how often you activate this card. Tolarian Terror's here in this set. We got Fog Bank, 2 mana for a 0/2 Defender Flyer. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and by this creature. This is actually an incredibly annoying thing. This is super annoying. It's actually showed up in a couple of my cubes before because it is very difficult to deal with. This card is extremely aggravating, I promise you. Gateway Sneak is also here. This is 3 mana for a 1/3 Vidalcan Rogue. Whenever a gate you control enters, it can't be blocked. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Pretty drafty little card here, but cares about the gate theme. Again, we'll get to it later. Shipwreck Dowser's in here. I like this card. 5 mana, 3 and 2 blue for a 3/3 Merfolk Wizard with prowess. The important part, though, is that when he enters the battlefield, return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Really fun, blinkable target that actually saw play in Standard in a very niche deck last time he was here, but he did. He did see the play. Negate is in here. It should be in Standard for 5 years. Refute is in here. You get a borderless version if you get the starter collection kit. We just saw this the other day. A decent cancel effect. Apart from that, Faebloom Trick, we covered this in yesterday's spoilers. I think it's better than it looks. 3 mana for 2 1/1 flyers at instant speed and a tap down. Essence Scatter is in here. Classic counterspell. Going to have it in Standard for a while. Think Twice is in here. It was in the main set. Into the Royal is back, everybody. 2 mana, 1 and a blue for an instant with Kicker, 1 and a blue. Return a non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If the spell was kicked, draw a card. Very good Magic card. Deceptively good Magic card Into the Royal is. So keep that in mind when you're building your tempo decks and your control decks for that matter. But Opt is also back. Keep that in mind when you're building your tempo decks and your control decks. Opt is freaking back, dude. Wow, we did have this in Standard not too long ago, so it's not like it's overpowered or anything, but Opt is always a good card to have access to. Just scry 1 cantrip for a single mana. Let's go. Dive Down is here too. Again, tempo decks. It's just a package for a tempo deck. A single blue mana for an instant. A creature gets +0/+3 and gains hexproof till end of turn. So amazing card to have access to. I think Shore Up is probably still better than this, but now we have 2 kind of effects like this in Standard, and that could be really, really good. We've also got Flash Freeze, which was in the main set. I've seen like 3 different pros on Twitter basically say this is the most powerful card in the set. It's pretty good. The argument is that it just keeps red and green spells that cost more than 2 mana from seeing play, period. And maybe Mystical Teachings was in the main set, and Unsummon was also in the main set. All of these over here are cards we either don't know about yet or are different versions. Like most of these cards we actually did see in the deck. But anyway, that's all the blue stuff right there. Replication, right of replication, confiscate, and negate are in traditional foil. Refute again has borderless art. Looking at the black stuff in here, oh my god, it gets pretty serious because we get Massacre Worm back in standard. 6 mana for a 6/5 Phyrexian Worm. When it enters creatures your opponents control, give -2/2 till end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Excellent lines of text on this guy. Kind of a decent reanimation target too, and might be good in like Hauntwood Shrieker decks that are trying to manifest dread and then turn this guy up or whatever. Not necessarily because of the enters. He won't get the enters ability, but it's because of the second ability on the card. Massacre Worm's sweet to have back, boy. It's sweet to have back. Demonic Pact is in the main set. Midnight Snack is in the main deck. Vampiric Rites not in the main set. A single black mana for an enchantment. Pay 2 mana, sack a creature, you gain a life, and draw a card. Pretty important card for a lot of like sacrifice-based commander decks. Maybe slightly too slow for standard, but might not be, you know? Some of these sacrifice decks want you to play enchantments for whatever reason because you sacrifice enchantments to stuff in these decks. And Vampiric Rites is a nice like 1 mana enchantment, so that's kind of good for those decks. For eerie decks, it's a 1 mana enchantment. It's all kind of decent. But apart from that, Wishclaw Talisman is also in this set. This is a 2 mana, 1 and a black for an artifact that enters with 3 wish counters on it. Pay 1, tap it, remove a wish counter from it, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle. An opponent gains control of Wishclaw Talisman. Activate only during your turn. If the card that you get wins you the game, turns out it doesn't matter. That was always the secret to Wishclaw Talisman. Saw very sparing play last time in Standard, but it's always been fun. Gatekeeper of Malakir is in this set. A little vampire theme popping off. 2 black mana for a 2/2 vampire warrior that kicks for a black. When it enters, if it was kicked, target player sacrifices a creature of their choice. I love the of their choice they're putting on these nowadays. Again, solid magic card. It's just a 2 mana 2/2 with a relevant creature type that you can turn into a Fleshbag Marauder. And that's kind of okay. But it's actually better than a flesh bag because it's target player sacks a creature. So, not bad. Vengeful Blood Witch is in the main set. We knew about it, but God, is it good. Desecration Demon over here. Another demon for the standard Unholy Annex decks. 4 mana for a 6/6 flying demon. At the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sack a creature of their choice. If a player does, tap this creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Still pretty good. Unlike Archfiend of the Dross, this doesn't kill you eventually, but unlike Archfiend of the Dross, it doesn't have that Massacre Worm ability as the last line of text, so you make your pick there. Glacier Highborn, oh my goodness, this is in Standard. 2 mana, both of it black, for a 2/2 Vampire Shaman. Whenever this or another vampire you control dies, you may pay black. If you do, target player loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Vampire Aristocrats. Are we playing Vampire Aristocrats? Vengeful Blood Witch is a vampire, so maybe, dude. Highborn is pretty amazing card to have access to. It kind of is. Midnight Reaper, speaking of amazing cards to have access to, for 5 years. This is 2 and a black for a 3/2 zombie knight. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, including Reaper, this creature deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. So gross. We just have this for Aristocrats decks now. This is the effect that we've been lacking, that we've been missing for like 2 years in Elvisil Core. So I'm a happy little sailor boy, I guess is the end of that sentence. Yeah, we have a real card draw effect for Aristocrats now. Not make tokens like investigate or clues or whatever. Not do stupid crap like that. Not once per turn. Just draw the cards when your guys die, son. I know it's non-token, but it's still super, super important for these decks. Amazing to have the Horse and Rider back in Standard. Love this guy, man. Love this guy. He's in all my commander decks. Beogen of Night's Reach is also, for some reason, in Standard. Originally printed in a Kamigawa set, looking like Beetlejuice up here. He's got like white and black. He just looks like a Tim Burton drawing. That's 8 mana, 5 and 3 black for a 5/2 legendary spirit. Enters with a divinity counted on her if you cast her from your hand. Beogen of Night's Reach has indestructible as long as it has that divinity counter. And if you remove the divinity counter from it, each opponent discards their hand. So that's pretty sexy. It does have to come from your hand, but you can smuggler surprise this into play in Standard, immediately remove the divinity counter from it, and they discard. You mind twist them. Like, ooh, that's actually pretty hilarious to try to do in Standard. And like the smuggler surprise decks have already become green black over the last few weeks, so they can get like Valgavoth into the deck. So yeah, man. I want to try that like pretty bad. Null Priest of Oblivion is back. Just a little 2 mana 2/1 with lifelink. It too is a vampire. It has Kicker 4 and Menace. Whenever this creature enters, if it was kicked, return target creature card from your yard to the battlefield. So a nice little like reanimator effect if you kick it, but just a 2 mana 2/1 Menace lifelink with a decent creature type has always been all right. Vengeful Blood Witch, again, in here. Marauding Blight Priest. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life on a 3-mana 3/2. This is a fun one, too, to have in standard for 5 years, baby. These life gain decks are looking fun right now. Apart from that, Hero's Downfall is right here. Perennial all-star. Moment of Craving is in here. A creature gets -2/2 till end of turn. You gain 2 life for 2 mana. Not actually that bad. Undying Malice is by the way, this will help the life gain decks out of the sideboard pretty well, because it kills like Heartfire Heroes and Cacophony Scamps without them getting to deal damage to you. A -- is pretty good right now. It actually is. Undying Malice is a sort of, comeback effect for black for a single mana, and it's a pretty good one. Tribute to Hunger is in here. 3 mana for an instant. Target opponent sacks a creature. You gain life equal to its toughness. This is a solid card, but not amazing. For the life gain decks, maybe, if they want to take a more like mid-range or control bent. Apart from that, let's move it on down, ladies and gentlemen. We got Stormclerk Blood Thief from the main set. Vampire Nighthawk in standard for 5 years. That's my kind of magic. A 3 mana 2/3 flying Death Touch lifelink. What a great magic card, dude. Suspicious Shambler is 4 mana for a 4/2 zombie. You can pay 6 mana and exile it from your yard to make 2/2 black zombie creature tokens at sorcery speed. I just like the art on this. It's 2 zombies in a coat. Hilarious. Driver of the Dead is up next. This is 4 mana for a 3/2 vampire. When it dies, return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your yard to the table. Nothing to write home about, but okay. Knight of Malice is in here. We talked about its white counterpart just a moment ago, so it's cool to see this here. Very cool, actually. These 2 knights are just really, really cool. Pulse Tracker is a single black mana for a 1/1 vampire rogue. When it attacks, each opponent loses 1 life. Okay. Vile Entomber is 4 mana, 2 and 2 black for a 2/2 zombie warlock with Death Touch. When it enters, search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, shuffle up. So you get Entomb on a 2/2 Death Touch. Let's give it a shot, right? Let's give it a shot. But apart from that, there's Feed the Swarm in here, now available to play in Standard. So we have a couple of black cards in Standard that can blow up enchantments. That'll be very important for mono black specifically. Dread Summons is in here, 2 black and X for a sorcery. Each player mills X cards. For each creature card put into a graveyard this way, you get a 2/2 tapped black zombie creature token. So this is actually a great magic card. I know it doesn't look incredible, but if you have the right amount of mana, this can sometimes put, 6 zombies into play easier than you think it can. So I actually think this is a really fun one to have back in Standard. I'm going to try it out. Seeker's Folly is from the main set. We just covered it today in the spoilers video. Exsanguinate in the main set. Good to have this card just reprinted again, I guess. But in case you've never seen it somehow, 2 black and X for a sorcery. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life loss this way. Again, maybe some sort of life gain control deck of some kind, that plays in Sanguinate and like Corrupt at the top end, or one or the other of them. I want to try it. Zombify from the main set, Deathmark from the main set, Duress from the main set. Sanguine Indulgence, on the other hand, is 4 mana for a sorcery that costs 3 less to cast if you gain 3 life or more this turn. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your yard to your hand. So if you're able to gain 3 life, 1 mana for double Raise Dead. It's pretty good some of the time. Arbiter of Woe, Infestation Sage, we don't know what these do, and then these were in the deck already. We've already seen them. So let's move on to the red stuff, because we got to get through this. And there's already so much, right? There's already so much that you could read over this 5 or 6 times and still kind of forget or miss things. In red, we got Gratuitous Violence, 5 mana, 2 and 3 red for an enchantment. If a creature you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. Okay. Pretty sweet, dude. 5 mana is probably too much for this in Standard for the most part, but what a ridiculous effect. Impact Trimmers. Impact Trimmers. It's that time again, everybody. It's that time. This is like one of my favorite times on the channel in history, was Impact Trimmers budget deck season. Hopefully Impact Trimmers will actually go down to a reasonable price, because it's kind of got expensive over the years. It's a very desirable effect. Just 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control enters, this enchantment deals 1 to each opponent. So, like a War Leader's Call. You can play both of them in Standard right now if you wanted to do that, and you might very well want to do that, but this is one of my favorite Magic cards in the history of Magic cards, and now we get it in Standard for 5 years, dude. Oh my God, I cannot wait. You have no idea, guys. And it's common. The card's common. I know it was already, but it's common. Come on. Gutter Snipe is up next. We get this in standard for the next 5 years. I shouldn't have gone down yet, but I guess you already know what these cards are, right? Abrade's in standard. It's a good card. Burst Lightning was already in the main set. Hidetsugu's Second Right's already in the main set. Thrill of Possibility is the 2-mana instant speed draw 2, but you have to discard a card to cast the thing in the first place. This is a perennial favorite. Bolt Bend is also in here, though. 4 mana, 3 and a red for an instant that costs 3 less to cast if you have a big guy, power 4 or greater. Change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. So Bolt Bend has always been a fun one to play around with in Commander. I've seen this in Commander a good bit, but it was in standard sideboards when it first came out. So we'll see if it shows back up again. It's always been deceptively good, man. Apart from that, though, we got to look at Dragon Master Outcast. Yeah, Ball Lightning's here, but it's in the main set. Gutter Snipe, I've already mentioned. The 3-mana 2/2, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, deals 2 damage to each opponent. Funny that they gave us Gratuitous Violence in there with this card, because that's a setup where every time you cast an instant or sorcery, Gutter Snipe deals 4 damage. That's nasty. Dragon Master Outcast, though, I love that this is here, dude. What a classic card, man. A single red mana for a 1/1 human shaman. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. My favorite kind of 1-drop. The 1-drop that has relevance in the late game. I freaking love it so much. I'm so glad to have Outcast back, dude. Every time this is around, it sees some play. I don't think that'll change. This makes big red somewhat likely. Really good with Koth, not King of the Hill, but the Planeswalker Koth, because he goes and fetches mountains for you every turn. He benefits you having mountains in play, so pretty easy to get your 6 lands out with him around. Just, Dragon Master, I cannot wait to play with you. But Lathliss Dragon Queen is back as well. This was getting a little bit expensive over the last couple of years. 6 mana for a 6/6 legendary dragon with flying. Whenever another non-token dragon you control enters, you make a 5/5 flyer. And you can pay 2 mana to make dragons you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So the fire breathing for all of your dragons. Sweet to have this lady back. It's God, I sound like a broken record in this video, but I'm just milking over how I'm just maulding, well, maulding's not the right term. I'm just going absolutely crackerjacks over what they decided to do with this particular product, especially knowing these cards are standard legal. I don't know if Lathliss is going to be great in standard, but we are building standard dragons and playing it because we have access to this card, and for what it's worth, kind of a lot of good dragons, too. Redcap Gutter Dweller is up, though. This is 4 mana for a 3/3 Goblin Warrior with menace. When it enters, you get 2 1/1 Black Rat creature tokens that can't block. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you can sacrifice another creature. If you do, this guy gets a +1/+1 counter, and you exile the top card of your library. You can play it this turn. This is in standard. I just wanted to read it because, no one remembers what it does, and I actually think it's halfway decent. For a big red deck, it's card draw. It's got a keyword ability that makes it hard to block. It gets larger and draws cards. Fills your board when you play it. I've always liked this guy. Stromkirk Noble, though, is a single red mana for a 1/1 Vampire Noble that cannot be blocked by humans. Also, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. This is a unassuming little 1-drop, but it's better than it looks. I've had this guy body me a couple of times way back at FNM's, feels like 15 years ago. This guy, I feel like it was that long ago, but yeah, especially if humans are a thing in aggro decks in the format, then Noble can start getting through. And even if they just go first, you're not playing any humans, but they go first and play Noble, it can become a long night because of that. Tarian Mauler is in here, by the way. 3 mana. Let me go down slightly. This is an awesome pickup, by the way. 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 2/2 shapeshifter with changeling. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, Mauler gets a +1/+1 counter. So that's any spell. They cast any spell. This guy gets bigger, which I think is sweet, but it's just cool to have a changeling guy. We should get more changeling guys. I like that. Apparently they pushed back the Return to Lorwyn on the release schedule by we don't know how long, but they have admitted that they pushed back the Return to Lorwyn. I was excited for that because we'd have changeling dudes in standard, but I guess if they give us a couple in this set, I'll be somewhat happy, but I still want to go back to Lorwyn as quickly as possible, but do like to see a changeling. Fanatical Firebrand, nice guy, man. A single red mana for a 1/1 Gobbo Pirate with haste. You can tap it and sack it to deal a damage to any target. This too, unassuming, but so much better than it looks. This was a 4-of in every red aggro deck the last time it was in standard, and that wasn't even that long ago. This is a really good Raging Goblin. A really good Raging Goblin that can supplement a removal spell like a lightning strike or something to deal the 4th damage to a guy. That happens a good bit. But also, when it just becomes invalidated as a 1-drop, it does an extra damage to your opponent. That's good. It comes off the top of your library and is a burn spell. Just does damage to your opponent. That's good too. Just very solid. This could see some play again. Heartfire Immolators is it in the main set? I don't know. We looked at this the other day. Well, actually, let's move up this way. Make sure we see all the cards on the right side of the screen. Like Harmless Offering, this we saw in the main set. Seismic Rupture from the main set. Dragon Fodder, I'm actually kind of psyched to have this back. I've wanted it a few times in Standard. 2 mana for a sorcery to get you 2/1/1 Gobos. So this actually helps out Goblins a lot, but it also just helps out Tokens decks, helps out Impact Tremors and War Leader's Call and all kinds of stuff. Just a good card to have access to. It's like a Resolute Reinforcements. Crash Through, sort of, right? It's not as good, but it's there. Crash Through is in this set. A single red mana for a sorcery. Dude you control gain trample till end of turn. Draw a card. Probably not as good as some of the stuff we have access to right now for mono red, but this card has seen play before. Wouldn't surprise me if it did so again. Drawing cards for 1 mana is great. It really is. Obliterating Bolt is in Standard, but it's also in this set for the next 5 years. We'll have access to it. It's a good red removal card. Apart from that, let's move on down. Crackling Cyclops, Goblin Negotiation, and Strongbox Raider. We don't know what they are yet. But we also got Dragon Mage in here. 7 mana, 5 and 2 red for a 5/5 Dragon Wizard with flying. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, each player discards their hand and draws up 7 cards. Pretty good with Razorkin, Needlehead, Sheoldred, Crawling... What is it? Scrawling Trawler? We just saw it yesterday. It's another Underworld Dreams on a stick effect. So if you can actually engineer that, that could be fun, but probably only fun, not competitive. Get to freaking Lava Runner, a single red mana for a 1/2 human wizard. As long as there are 2 or more instants or sorceries in your yard, this creature hits +1/+0 in haste. This saw a little bit of play last time it was in Standard too. It's not bad. It isn't terrible. Giant Cindermaw, though, is currently in Standard? Is it currently in Standard? It's just a 3 mana 4/3 trample. Players can't gain life. It ain't bad. Hoarding Dragon is 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer. It's a dragon. When it enters, you may search your library for an artifact card, exile that card, shuffle up. When this guy dies, put the exiled card into its owner's hand. Again, fun card to have access to that could actually do some great stuff for us in like big red. Mind Sparker from the main set. Ravenous Giant is... okay, this is 4 mana for a 5/5. At the beginning of your upkeep, it deals a damage to you. So it's a Juzam Jin. This is just a red reprint of Juzam Jin. And not good by today's standards. It's weird to say, but it's just not. And then Viashino Pyromancer, an actually kind of exciting reprint. 2 mana for a 2/1 Lizard Wizard. When it enters, it deals 2 damage to a player or planeswalker. It is a lizard. It is a lizard, and I know that we love Viashinos and we wish they hadn't changed the creature type, but there is a red-black Lizards deck in Standard right now that not only wants to count to 20 as quickly as possible by dealing incremental damage if it can do that, not just combat damage, but also a bunch of cards that care about your opponent having lost life this turn, right? So Viashino Pyromancer is a perfect fit for that deck, and honestly, just an awesome red, card to have access to for aggro decks. This saw 4 of play in multiple decks during its tenure in the last Standard because it is actually an incredible 2-drop, dude. This is a great 2-drop. Like, make no mistake. So, it's a burn spell. It's a burn spell on a body, and that's unbelievable. Well, let's look at green, dude. Let's try and bring it home and look at the last few color pairings here. Green starts with Imperious Perfect. I was hoping that we would get elf support in this set. We got the 3-mana Anthem effect. That's also kind of like a Priest of Titania. I'll always forget the name of this card. Like Elvish Archdruid or something. But now we get Imperious Perfect, which is another 3-mana Anthem effect. That just spits elves onto the table. So we have got an elves deck going in Standard. We do, for real. Love this card. Palaka Worm, 7 mana for a 7/7 trample. When it enters, you gain 7 life. When it dies, you draw a card. The card has seen sideboard play before. Reclamation Sage is here. Classic dude. 3 mana 2/1 when he ETBs. Disenchant effect. So like a Lauren of the Third Path that doesn't have the everyone discards or everyone draws cards on it, but it's not legendary. Just a solid guy. Hero's Bane. 5 mana, 3 and 2 green for a 0/0 Hydra that comes into play with 4 +1/+1 counters. You can pay 4 and put X +1/+1 counters on it, X being its power. So just double its power, kind of like every time you do it. But obviously, if you have Anthem effects or you do like other auras or whatever, that could get better. But Just again, all these things are solid. None of these that we've seen so far have been like mind-blowingly overpowered, save for maybe a card or two. But this is just perfectly in the realm of like solid Magic card. But we probably have better 5-drop options in standard. Predator Ooze, on the other hand, cool card, man. I have lost to this card a bunch too. 3 green mana for a 1/1 Ooze with Indestructible. Whenever it attacks, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And whenever a creature dealt damage by this guy dies, this also gets a +1/+1 counter. So if they block it, after a couple of turns at least, and if they block it, it gets bigger. If you attack with it at all, it gets bigger. So after 3 or 4 turns, you have a 3 mana 5/5 Indestructible. And that's cool. I've always liked this card, like a good bit, but in a Sunfall standard, probably not as great. Rampaging Baloths is amazing to have in standard. 6 mana for a 6/6 beast with trample and landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you may create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Holy guacamole, man. Like, this is one of the quintessential like landfall game enders in Commander, has been since Landfall's been a deck, which is the whole time because people love Landfall. Just again, fan favorite ability. And having this in standard, I don't know if it's as good as like the top end of Lumra. Felidar Retreat is just as good in a lot of ways, and it costs less mana than this. So I think that there are probably better overall setups, but I still think if you Aftermath Analyst, if you Lumra, and you have a Rampaging Baloths on the table, and with the amount of mana that deck is able to generate, it shouldn't be hard to get to 6 mana to get Baloths on the table in the first place. But yeah, if you hit Aftermath Analyst ability, you get that Splendid Reclamation, you put 6 lands on the table, a few of them are Fabled Passages or whatever, then you're going to make a lot of 4/4s, and that could easily win the game if your opponent doesn't have the sweeper right then and there. And you can only force the sweeper on them so many times before they die. So just really cool to have this card in standard. It really is. Surrak, the Hunt Caller, also in this set, though. This is 4 mana for a 5/4 legendary human warrior. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater, target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. So there are some turns where, you just throw Surrak down on turn 4 and he immediately has haste. Because, he's 5 power. You only need 3 more power to get to give a guy haste. Not a whole lot of mono green effects that give dudes haste like this every turn. So Surrak is cool. Didn't see a ton of play last time he was in standard, but maybe we'll write that this time because he always deserved to. This is a powerful Magic card. Primal Might is in here. This is X and a green for a sorcery. Target creature you control gets +X till end of turn and then fights up to 1 creature you do not control. Make no mistake, this is a very good Magic card. It doesn't look amazing, right? It just kind of sort of sorcery speed, pump spell, fight effect. No. This card saw a ton of play last time it was in standard. A ton. And actually won a bunch of big time tournaments, which Carmen Klomperens actually, commented on when she was up there on the stream today. Because Primal Might, let's say you pump 4 mana in total into this. So +3/+3. Okay. That means even a mid-sized creature can kill a relatively large guy. And then, importantly, you just killed the biggest guy on their side of the table. You're getting in with a guy you effectively just giant growthed. Right? So this plays better than I think it reads to a lot of players. Just wait till you experience it. It's pretty gross. Bushwhack is also back. Overrun is here from the main set. Circuitous Route is here. This is a Invasion of Zendikar explosive vegetation effect, right? 4 mana, go get 2 lands. But in this case, you can get basic lands and or gate cards. This is one of the better gate enablers that we saw today. I've just pressed the space bar. That was the wrong thing to do. Let me go. Let me fix this. All right. Yeah, this is probably about right. Yeah, somewhere around there. So over here on the right, we got Primeval Bounty, a pretty commander playable card for the last, 10, 20 years. This is the 6 mana enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature, you get a 3/3 beast. Whenever you cast a non-creature, put 3 +1/+1 counters on a guy, and it landfalls and gains you 3 life. So cool card. Don't know if this is standard playable either, but I imagine some sort of, we see the white-red deck with Urabrask's Forge right now, right? That just sunfalls every couple of turns or like other sweeper effect and like keeps the board clear and hits you with Urabrask's Forge to win the game. This is potentially, playable in a deck like that, where instead of Urabrask's Forge, you just resolve this later on in the game and then sweep the board and then start, getting board presence, gaining life back and making dudes big. So I could see it, but I don't know. I'm not sure it's better than other plans we have access to. Garrick's Uprising is in here. The 3-mana enchantment. When it enters, if you have a large 4-power guy, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, and whenever a creature you control with power 4 or greater enters, you also get to draw a card for that game action. So this can draw you a card, other creatures can draw you a card, and all your dudes have trample. Always been sweet, dude. Always been sweet. Really cool card to have access to. Seriously. And then Ordeal of Nylea over here. 2 mana for an aura that enchants a creature. Whenever the enchanted creature attacks, it gets a counter. Then if it has 3 or more of those counters on it, sacrifice this aura. They're +1/+1 counters. When you sack this aura, search your library for up to 2 basic lands. Put them on the battlefield, tap, shuffle up. Always been better than it looks, baby. This won't always get you the lands, right? They just cut down the creature and it dies or whatever. But what this does do is get you 2 lands and 2 +1/+1 counters on the ceiling. You know, at the absolute most maximum effectiveness level of the card. Making a creature much larger and getting 2 lands is great for the super tiny rate you're putting into the card. So investment small, payoff's huge, but you got to protect a guy. So always been kind of a swingy proposition, but when you make it work, it's a great card. Vizier of the Menagerie is somehow also in the set. On top of all the other good stuff we've already seen. 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 3/4 snake cleric. Look at the top card of your library anytime. Cast creature spells from the top of that library, and you can spend mana of any type to cast them creature spells. Always been awesome art. Glad they didn't change it, dude. Great card. Great. Just, again, it didn't see a whole lot of play last time it was in standard, but it's gotten expensive because of its playability in the commander environment. So it's not like too expensive, but it's a few bucks. But again, sweet card to have in standard. 5 freaking years, dude. 5 freaking years in standard with Vizier. Wildborn Preserver. Oh my goodness. 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/2 flash elf archer with reach. Whenever another non-human creature you control enters, pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on said creature, on this creature. Again, just always crazy. This has flash. This never should have had flash. And one of the whole reasons it saw so much play last time it was in standard is that it has flash. So just wowza. So are we doing Simic Tempo again? We might. Elvish Regrower from the main set is here. Dwynen's Elite is back. 2 mana. I didn't even see this one the first time I looked through. 1 and a green for a 2/2 elf warrior. When it enters, if you control another elf, you get a 1/1 elf. I heard you liked elves. If you have elves, you get more elves. You don't have any elves, you only get the 1 elf. But if you have elves, you get 2 elves. 2 mana for 2 guys with 3 total PT is amazing. You know, this is exactly what you need in elves decks after your 1 drop to sort of start getting the elf ball rolling and getting larger. So amazing reprint. Just absolutely amazing reprint. You get 4 Llanowar elves if you buy this product, and it's cute. They have a baby. They have a little baby, so that's cool. Wildwood Scourge is in here. X and a green for a 0/0 Hydra. Enters with X +1/+1 counters. And whenever 1 or more counters are put on another non-Hydra creature you control, you put a +1/+1 counter on Wildwood Scourge. Good. In +1/+1 counters decks. But even in the last standard where we had access to this card, there was a +1/+1 counters deck that this did not show up in that much because, you know, there's better stuff to play. Maybe there won't be this time. We'll see. Thornweld Archer. Oh my god, I didn't see this the first time either. 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/1 elf archer with reach and death touch. That's the whole card. That's all it has to be. A relevant creature type, right? Relatively cheap to play too, just a couple of mana. And reach, death touch. Blocks and kills anything. As long as it doesn't have like indestructible or whatever. Blocks and kills literally anything. I have always loved this card. Since Future Sight, I think is when it first came out, I have been one of the biggest fans in Magic the Gathering of this. So, oh my goodness, to see it right now is like a shot to the heart. We have this in standard. That's so cool. That's so cool. It's not like amazing, but like it's cool. Fierce Empath is in here. 3 mana for a 1/1 elf. When it enters, you may search your library for a creature with mana value 6 or greater, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Again, a commander popular card. Pretty popular commander card here. We'll see if it's good in standard. If there are 6-drop creatures we really have to get to, like, I don't know, Doomsday Excruciator, doesn't he cost 6? Then, like, maybe we try this thing out. Apart from that, Finn the Fangbear is back in standard. Hey, Cat Lady, Finn the Fangbear is back in standard. It's not awesome. It's not often that I address one specific fan of mine, but she'll be very excited that Finn the Fangbear is standard playable, and so am I, dude. First of all, we just got back Thornweld Archer. And now Finn the Fangbearer is playable in standard. We got some good Death Touch dudes, dude. I cannot wait to put this deck back together. In case you missed this guy, he's 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 1/3 legendary human warrior with Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. Bub. There's already like toxic and poison counter stuff in standard, so I wonder if we can, mix them together and make like a Death Touch toxic deck and do something really fun. It's gonna be great, dude. I love Finn. Gnarlback Rhino is in this piece right here. 4 mana for a 4/4 Rhino with trample. Whenever you cast a spell that targets this guy, draw a card. So, start devising your plans now. Just pump spells or whatever. Really, really good. Bite Down is in here. 2 mana for an instant that is just a bite. Just literally a bite effect that also can hit planeswalkers and not just creatures. Always good to have access to. Instant speed is rocking. Broken Wings is in here. Take these broken wings. Actually, do take it in draft. It's not bad, but you won't see it in draft because it's not there. This is 3 mana, 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Pretty good. Giant Growth is in here. That's a card. Snakeskin Veil is in here for 5 years. It's in standard for 5 years. What you going to do about that, buddy? Mold Adder is also in here from the main set. We've already seen it. Spring Bloom Druid. There it is for 1 second if you wanted to pause on it because you hadn't seen it in the main set. Okay. Spring Bloom Druid is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Druid. When it enters, you may sack a land. If you do, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Put them on the battlefield tapped. Shuffle up. So it really only gets you 1 ramp, but it gets you 2 landfalls, which could be a huge deal. Druid's nice. Venom Connoisseur's in here too, though. This is in a Nuka Penner or something. 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/2 human druid. Whenever another creature you control enters, this lady gains Death Touch till end of turn. If it's the second time this ability is resolved, all your guys gain Death Touch till end of turn. Do you see? Do you see how it's got Finn the Fangbearer and also this lady? Good stuff, dude. Green didn't get the absolute best cards in the world. It did get a couple of great ones, but did it get some fun stuff I want to play with. Here's Multicolor. You may already be noticing a card in here that probably shouldn't be in standard, but here we go. Boros Charm, baby. A red and a white for an instant. Choose one of these. It deals 4 damage to a player or planeswalker. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Or target creature gains double strike till end of turn. Notice how all of those abilities are extremely good. They're all so good. Permanents you control gain indestructible, so it's just a protection spell. That's great. That's really good. It protects your guys, but it also protects like your Caretaker's Talent and other important enchantments. Planeswalkers, amazing. But the other 2 modes, the aggressive modes, are the ones that it's like most known for, I think. 4 damage to a player or planeswalker for 2 mana at instant speed. So now we have Shock, Lightning Strike, Lightning Helix, Boros Charm, Stoke the Flames. Like, Burn is looking actually pretty good, dude. Like, just being able to have Lightning Helix and Boros Charm up on turn 2 at instant speed, that's dangerous for a burn deck, dude. It really is. But this last ability, a creature gains double strike till end of turn, is obviously also Cuidado, dangerous. Peligroso, you've got a... Man, Why is this card in standard? I'm super happy it is, though. I'm super duper stinking happy this card is in standard. I'm being so serial. Mortify's here, though. Mortify's also in standard. It's also in standard. 3 mana, 1 an Orzhov for an instant. Destroy target creature or enchantment. My goodness, this card is in standard. Come on. We didn't get Putrefy to go along with it, but we did get Maelstrom Pulse. You already knew this was in the main set. We covered it on a spoiler video the other day. Buddy, sit right there and I'll pet you, and I love you. But God, Maelstrom Pulse and Mortify. That is good removal right there, dude. Teach by Example is here. This is 2 Simic Hybrids for an instant. Whenever you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it, choose new targets. This is already in standard. Now we get it for 5 years. Unflinching Courage, 3 mana, 1, a green and a white for Armadillo Cloak. It's Armadillo Cloak. So this is an aura that enchants a creature. The creature gets +2/+2, has trample and lifelink. I love it. I love this card so much, dude. I feel like green-white enchantments is actually back on the menu, dude. Like, it's been blue-white enchantments ever since Dustmourn came out. But with this card, I don't care if it costs 3 mana. I know that sounds like a lot. Don't care. This card is ridiculous. This card is so good. Wins games by itself, man. Even if it's like the only aura on your guy, it just turns him into a monster. Apart from that, though, Heroic Reinforcements is here. 4 mana, 2 and Boros for a sorcery. Create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens till end of turn. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. This saw play last time it was in standard. Sounds so weird, but it totally did. On the right board state, this can be pretty good. And honestly, on the right board state, this is just better than, like, you know, Recruiter, Imidane's Recruiter, in some cases. So keep it in mind. Deadly Brew is here too, though. A black and a green. This was also just printed recently. Sorcery. Each player sacks a creature or planeswalker of their choice. If you sacked a permanent this way, you may return a permanent from your yard to your hand. Over here, we got Unflinching Courage. We've already talked about that. Let's look at the creatures in multicolor and all freak out together. Aurelia the War Leader is here. 6 mana, 2, a red, and a white for a 3/3 legendary angel with flying, vigilance, and haste. Whenever Aurelia attacks for the first time each turn, untap all dudes you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Probably saw that coming the way it was going. This is nuts. Why is this in standard? You know, like 6 mana is a lot. Agreed. 6 mana is a lot. But I could see a mid-range deck wanting it. I could see a Reanimator deck even wanting this if that Reanimator deck is fairly heavy on creatures leading up to the reanimation turn. Mardu Reanimator with Aurelia the War Leader. Like, it could work. It could work. Push-pull with Aurelia the War Leader and like another huge guy, right? Because you pull Aurelia and a large creature out of your yard. They both get to attack twice that turn now before they go back to the exile zone. So, yes, I feel like that could be a great interaction. This card's awesome. Ailey Eternal Pilgrim, a white and a black for a 2/3 legendary core cleric with death touch. Pay 1, sack a creature. You gain life equal to the sacked creature's toughness. And 1, a white and a black, sack another creature. Exile a non-land permanent. Activate only if you have at least 10 more life than you start in life total, which is not an ability you will hit very often. But altogether, this has not seen play in the standard environment that it was like available to play in, and it kind of disappointed me that it didn't. But if you want to both gain life and sack creatures, Ailey's your girl, and it looks like we've got a deck like that kind of shaping up that wants to do both of those things. So yeah, probably maybe a yes to Ailey this time. We'll see. It's always been a decent little card. 2 mana for a 2/3 death touch on the floor. Pretty good floor. Drogskull Reaver is 7 mana, 5 and Azorius for a 3/5 spirit with flying and double strike and lifelink. And whenever you gain life, draw a card. Again, has been a standard playable card in the past. This was actually a part of the sideboard of Solar Flare, a deck that I mention every now and again, an Esper Reanimator deck from, I don't know, 17 or 18 years ago, but people always try to remake it. This, again, huge part of sideboards for that deck. But don't discount it. 6 basically swings for 6. Lifelink with an evasion ability every single turn. And note that it's going to draw you 2 cards when it hits, right? It's because it has double strike. So double strike, lifelink, hits once, draw a card, hits the second time, draw a card again. So this is one of those that might be slightly better than it appears. Even at a relatively high casting cost, this can be a pretty dangerous Magic card. Halana and Elena in the main set, actually. We've seen it already. Emmersturm Predator is back, dude. Oh, good top end for Rakdos Sacrifice in standard right now. 4 mana, 2 in Rakdos for a 3/3 Vampire Dragon with flying. Whenever it becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and put a +1/+1 counter on Predator. Sacrifice another creature. This creature gains indestructible till end of turn. Tap it. So good sacrifice outlet, free and repeatable if you need it to be, but also keeps it from getting hit by single target removal and stuff like that. Messes around in graveyards, which is sweet. If you don't want to attack with it, you can just sack a guy, right? Like, let's say they put Rite of the Moth on the stack. You can sack a guy and, remove the thing from the graveyard that they're targeting with Rite of the Moth at instant speed, which is a nice ability. But this is also a vampire. We've seen some vampire support in this set alone, and there may be some more in the 5 years the card is in standard. So Predator is a great Magic card. It was one of my favorite, cards of the standard it was involved in not that long ago. It never really got its time to shine, but maybe it will soon because it's always been really strong. Apart from that, Ovika Enigma Goliath is back. 7 mana, 5 and Izzet for a 6/6 legendary Phyrexian Nightmare with flying, ward 3, pay 3 life. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create X 1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens, X being the mana value of the spell you cast. They gain haste until end of turn. I believe we've had some version of this in standard for a while. Hasn't seen much play, but some 7-drops are better than others, and we play those instead of this. But this is still a very fun card to actually like untap with and start casting spells. Prime Speaker Zagana in standard for 5 years, 6 mana, 2 green, 2 blue for a 1/1 legendary Merfolk Wizard. It enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, X being the greatest power among other creatures you control. When Zagana enters, draw cards equal to its power. So again, this might be one that if you haven't seen it before, you look at it and you're like, well, that's going to be a 2/2, but here's the secret. Even if it comes into play as a 2/2, you draw 2 cards and you get a body, and like that's actually not that bad. If you have one guy in play and he's a 1/1, then like I guess the card isn't very good, right? Actually, if you have a 1/1 in play, you draw 2. You draw 2 cards. That's the floor of the card. It's having a 1/1. Well, the floor is having is it being a 1/1, the only creature you control and drawing 1 card. That's not good. But let's say you have, a 3/3 in play. How hard is it to get a 3/3? Well, if you do, you'll Prime Speaker Zagana and draw 4. You'll draw 4 cards for your 4/4. Speaker is great. I did not notice this card while I was going through earlier. That's why I'm spending so long on it now. Prime Speaker costs a lot of mana. But again, as part of like push-pull strategies, perhaps, right? Like Soul Tide push-pull, bring back Prime Speaker and a large creature and just draw a billion. Like Prime Speaker and a Vault-Born Tyrant. How many cards does that actually draw you? Because you'll draw one when Vault-Born Tyrant comes into play. You'll draw one off Vault-Born when Prime Speaker comes into play. And then you'll draw 7. Yeah, because this guy gets +6 +1/+1 counters and becomes a 7/7. You draw 7. So you draw 9 cards and gain 6 life if you pull a Prime Speaker and a Vault-Born Tyrant out of your yard. I don't know. Sounds pretty good to me, dog. Wilt Leaf Liege is up next. 1 and 3 Selesnya hybrids for a 4/4 Elf Knight. Other green creatures you control get +1/+1. Other white creatures you control get +1/+1. If a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, put it onto the battlefield instead of putting it into your graveyard. Get effed, discard decks. We've already got like Obstinate Baloth in Standard, and I've seen people spring it in the arena when I'm playing Lilianas and stuff like that, and Bandits, Talents, whatever. People spring that stupid thing on me, and it's pretty serious. So now we have this along with, all any other stuff we have in Standard to protect against discard decks. This card is great. Good top end for elves a lot of the time, but just good top end in Selesnya midrange, period. Empyrean Eagle, we knew was in the main set. Ruby Daring Tracker will now be in Standard for 5 years. Cool little gruel piece of ramp here. Tatiova Benthic Druid, we just covered in the main set earlier today in a spoiler video. Cloud Blazer, we knew was in the main set. Dryad Militant is back, though. A green and a white hybrid for a 2/1 Dryad Soldier. If an instant or sorcery card would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Interesting, in a set where we're printing a bunch of instants and sorceries with flashback, like Electro Duplicate, Mystical Teachings. We just saw Ride of the Moth in a different set. There's a few other ones in this set that look like powerful cards with flashback. So good card to have, and just a good card in general, right? A 1 mana 2/1 for 2 different kinds of decks that has nothing but upside, and it's a pretty freaking good upside at that. So sick card to have back. Enigma Drake Barry, I've got a long time supporter here on the channel who has done a lot to support my content. His name is Mr. Drake, and I used to call him the Enigma. I'd send him letters like Enigma Drake because his name is Drake. But anyway, I love having this card in Standard. It's kind of a haughty Jin, but not really. 3 mana, 1 a red and a white. A white, 1 a red and a blue. I do that too often. I'll be looking at a Golgari card and be like, it costs a red and a green for a red and a blue. No, it doesn't. Anyway, 1 a blue and a red for a star 4 Drake with flying. Power is now equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. So you see why I say it's kind of like a haughty Jin, because it is. It just is. It's very much like a haughty Jin. Obviously. Garna Bloodfist of Killed stays in Standard for 5 years. Hadn't seen any play up to now, don't really expect it to, but cool card. Savage Ventmaw is 6 mana for a red and a green for a 4/4 flyer. Whenever it attacks, add 3 red and 3 green until end of turn. You don't lose that mana as steps and phases in. Hilarious card. Trigon Predator is in Standard, ladies and gentlemen. This is 3 mana, 1 a green and a blue for a 2/3 flying beast. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. Oh my god, this card is in Standard. Again, Simic getting kind of shored up in this set. And Consuming Aberration is back. We've already covered this for spoiler season, but I didn't quite mention the second line of text on it, which is pretty good and can mill your opponent out. Yes. Next, though, is Colorless. Let's bring it home. We're just over an hour on this video. I'm so sorry. I can't control how many cards they released in the stinking set. Adaptive Automaton is in Colorless. 3 mana for a 2/2 artifact creature construct. When it enters, choose a creature type. This creature is now the chosen type, in addition to its other types. Other creatures you control of that type get +1/+1. Always a fun card to have access to for, creature type matters decks. Awesome. Starksteel Colossus we knew was in the main set, but it's cool to have it in the, starter kit product. Ramos Dragon Engine. We got Ramos, everybody. John Ramos. 6 mana for a 4/4 legendary artifact creature dragon with flying. Whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos for each of that spell's colors. Remove 5/5 or 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos to add double Wooburg. Activate only once each turn. So to activate Door to Nothingness or cast Progenitus, remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos. What a card, dude. I'm not sure this is standard playable at all. It's a little bit too expensive, but they went on record as kind of saying they wanted to have a commander collection in a box as well, as part of their mission statement for this, not just a standard collection, which I think they did a pretty good job of doing, but a commander collection as well, which I think they did a great job of doing. And Ramos is a pretty good include if that's part of your stated goal. Steel Hellkite is in here, 6 mana for a 5/5 artifact creature dragon with flying. Pay 2 mana to fire breathe it, and if you pay X, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by this guy this turn. Activate only once each turn. An extremely powerful Magic card. Extremely powerful. You have to wait for it to deal combat damage, but when it does, you basically win the game. If you have mana open, you win the game. Burnished Heart is in this set as well. 3 mana for a 2/2 artifact creature elk. You can pay 3 and sack it to search for 2 basics, put them on the battlefield, tap, shuffle up. Perennial commander card here, but could be playable in standard. Saw a very sparing amount of play last time it was here, and could see some now. Maze's End is in this set. Maze's End is in this set. A land that enters tapped. You can tap it for a colorless, or you can pay 3 and tap it to return it to its owner's hand and search your library for a gate. Put that card on the battlefield, start shuffle up. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. So it's kind of like a Thawing Glaciers, right? You've probably seen this card before, but it's kind of like a Thawing Glaciers. It's pretty slow, but it does put a gate onto the table every turn or two or whatever you have extra mana for. And outside of just the win the game condition, that can actually be fairly reliable ramp in a kind of control-y deck. So don't count this card out. We did get all of the gates today. All 10 gates are in this product. So Maze's End is actually pretty tempting to try and play. Crawling Baron's typically better, though. This is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 4 and put 2 +1/+1 counters on the land. Then you may have it become a 0/0 elemental creature till end of turn. It's still a land. The thing that was important on this card last time, and will probably remain important now, is that making it become a creature is a May ability. When you pay the 4 mana, you're just putting 2 counters on it. If you don't want it to be a creature yet, it doesn't have to be. So if you sniff the removal spell out, you can just keep at end of your opponent's turn putting counters on this or whatever until it has 6 or 8 counters, and then make it a creature once you can protect against the removal spell or whatever it is. Crawling Barrens is actually low-key one of the best creature lands of all time. Having it in standard for 5 years is ridiculous. And here's a bunch of temples. We already knew the temples were in the main set, so this shouldn't be too crazy. Bloodfell Caves, these are the life gain lands. All the life gain lands are also in this little package that they're giving us. Evolving Wilds is in this package. Rogue's Passage is in the main set, but it's in this package as well. Moving on, though, to other cards. We've got Meteor Golem in here, the 7 mana 3/3 artifact creature that enters the battlefield and busts up a non-land permanent. You probably knew what Meteor Golem does, but it's good to have it. Diamond Mare, 2 mana for a 1/3 artifact creature. It's a horse. When it enters, choose a color. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen color, you gain 1 life. Could be good in life gain decks, man. Cool to have it back. Gate Colossus is 8 mana for an 8/8 artifact creature. It's construct. It costs 1 less to cast for each gate you control, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. No chump blocking. Whenever a gate you control enters, you may put this card from your graveyard on top of your library. So this was actually the best finisher in Gates last time Gates was in standard. Can't wait to try it again. 3-Tree Mascot. This is already in standard, and it's another changeling guy. So again, good to have access to those. Gilded Lotus we knew from the main set. Expedition Map is 1 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2, tap it, sack it to search for a land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle up. Not as good as some of the other egg effects we have. Hedron Archive is 4 mana for an artifact that taps for 2. You can also pay 2, tap it, sack it to draw 2 cards. This card is good. This card saw 4 of play last time it was in Standard in like 3 different decks throughout its 2-year tenure or whatever. And I expected to see some play this time around too. This is actually very powerful. It's no Soul Ring, but without having to play like Invasion of Zendikar, it gives you 2 mana for 4 mana. Ramp 2 for 4 mana. And you'll draw the cards a lot. You'll draw the cards an awful lot. Swiftfoot Boots is in the main set. We covered it today. Basilisk Collar is back. A single mana for an equipment that equips for 2. The equipped creature has Death Touch and Lifelink. Holy crap. We needed another reprint of this card. I feel like we can just never get enough reprints of Basilisk Collar. Has come down in price a good bit over the last few years, but I don't care. I need it to come down even more, and I need to play it in my Standard. This card's in Standard. This card is in Standard. Holy crap, this card's in Standard. Cultivator's Caravan is not as good. 3 mana for a 5/5 vehicle that taps for a mana of any color, or you can crew it for 3. I actually did play this in some decks last time it was in Standard. A 3 mana rock that attacks for 5 is sometimes all right. Maze Mind Tome, ladies and gentlemen. 2 mana for an artifact. You can tap it, put a page counter on it, scry 1, or you can tap it, 2 mana, tap it, put a page counter on it to draw a card. When there are 4 or more page counters on it, exile it. If you do, gain 4 life. Been looking for this card for a while, dude. They said on stream that, we've been chasing. There are certain cards that we design that we've been chasing for a while. The design of, we're trying to reinvent the wheel. I think maybe we knocked it out of the park the first time. Let's just reprint that card. And they said Maze Mind Tome was that kind of card. I agree. I feel like we've been looking for effects like this in Standard. They've either been not good enough or too good, right? Like Reckless Bank Buster, or whatever it was called, Bank Buster. Got banned in the last set. That was too good, but some of the other versions of this we've seen have been like a little subpar and not good enough, right? So it's good to have Tome back. This is a deceptively powerful Magic card that draws you a card every turn, or at the very least fixes your next draw, and eventually gains you that life back, which is good. Pyromancer's Goggles is in the main set. Heraldic Banner is in Standard for 5 years. When it comes into play, choose a color. Creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+0. Tap to add a mana of the chosen color. So like a patchwork banner, but in a lot of cases better. Felden's Cane. Called it. All right, so we've called Ball Lightning, Overrun, Felden's Cane, and I think at least 1 or 2 other cards so far. My top 10 cards I want reprinted in Foundations. I think they're printing them. I think they're doing it, guys. Felden's Cane is in Standard for 5 years. A single mana for an artifact. Tap, exile it, shuffle your graveyard into your library. Beautiful Magic card. Excellent Magic card. That was me clapping, but it could have been something else. Anyway, I'm super happy this is in Standard, dude. 5 years with Felden's Cane, nearly perma-legal in this format, is really cool. Perennial fan favorite, but also super powerful Magic card that is probably going to see some play here and there in sideboards, if nothing else. And if you hate mill decks, put Felden's Cane in your sideboard. You'll be happy. Fire Shrieker is here. 3 mana for an equipment that equips for 2. Equipped creature has a double strike. Just a solid, mostly commander playable equipment, but a good one. Sorcerer's Spyglass was already in the main set. Soulglide Lantern was already in the main set. And then Arcane Signet and Soul Ring are not legal in Standard. They are specifically commander cards. And then Heraldic Banner, Ravenous Amulet, Dismal Backwater. Okay, so Ravenous Amulet, we don't know what that is yet. All right, everybody. I think we did it. 1 hour and 12 minutes to discover each and every one of these cards in this product. Am I going to buy one of these? I think I absolutely am going to buy one of these. I ain't trying to be a pitch man for Wizards of the Coast or anything like that, but when they put out a good, strong product, I will let you know. And you can trust that I'm as objective as possible, because I don't even want to spend money on their cards if I don't have to, because I'm broke. But this, I think, is a more than worthwhile product. It is a kind of Standard collection in a box, but it's also a commander collection in a box. There's a lot of really desirable stuff here. There really is. And just the fact that they're adding a lot of these cards to Standard is just absolutely, it's bananas to me. So, my goodness, let me know what stuck out to you, what you're going to remember from this thing tomorrow. This is one of those that I feel like you have to read it or watch it multiple times to really get a good sense of the scope of what they've done here. I knew Foundations was going to be big, but when you total up the main set and now this product, I didn't realize it was basically going to be, 500 or 600 cards added to Standard for 5 years. And that's what they've done. And I'm kind of excited about it. Low key, I'm kind of excited about that. But I got to go ahead and get out of here. This is a lot of time for one video already. So I hope you enjoyed it. Do all the YouTube stuff on your way out. Let me know how you felt in the comments section. Hit the button shaped like a thumb. Check out the sandwich. You can sub to it. Patreon, link in the description. I work really hard for you. My voice is shot. We'll see how well I do tomorrow. I got to drink some hot tea, eat some salty fries. But anyway, that's all I've got for this one. Hit me up in the comments section. I know that was a ridiculous amount of information. It looks a little overwhelming, but there's an awful lot here to explore, and I'm excited to do so. But anyway, that's Allski Kowalski. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.